All right. Well, here we go. We're recording again. Ken, it's been a minute. How are you, man?
It's been a minute. How's everything? Was it good morning still? It is still morning, so good morning, Fenton.
Good morning. I'll just get out of the way. I'm back from a cruise. Um, and a whole bunch of nonsense leading up to getting on the cruise. And so we haven't been on here in a minute, but we're back on track. Making it happen.
Welcome to Products of Circumstance,
the podcast with Ken, Skeen, and myself, Fenton Joseph. Thanks for helping me out there. We discuss mental health and mindset matters through the lens of Black men. The show is unscripted, unfiltered, and mostly unedited. We choose our topics randomly. Ken's going to tell us what we're going to talk about in a second. First, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with somebody who's on their personal development journey. I'm a little dusty. It's been a little while. So with that out of the way.
That dust off. Oh, you're just staring blank in this camera like, you know what?
What do we do? What do I do?
What do I do now? That was cool. I like that. It was good. It was yeah. I'm loving it. All right, here's the topic. Limiting yourself to your beliefs.
I never do that.
Limiting. What does that mean? Limiting yourself to your beliefs. I'm not talking about religious beliefs right now. I'm talking about just beliefs that most of the time the person who raised you, whether it be a parent, a guardian, whatever it may be, put beliefs in your head. We were just actually discussing things like this right before we hit record, and talking how our parents raised us compared to how we're raising our children. And I know Fenton was just, well, you say, I'm not going to put your words out there, but go ahead, Fenton.
Yeah. So we're talking about my kid and how I try to make sure that she has the belief in herself that she can do anything, that she can be anything. I want her to always I was saying that, like, the voice that we hear in our heads oftentimes is the voice of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I was watching a movie last night, Flamin' Hot, the Cheetos, the guy who came up with the Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, the documentary, right?
Yeah. It's on Disney.
Yeah.
First of all, phenomenal movie. It was so good. I watched it with my wife and we had an amazing time. And one of the things that happened in the movie was he literally was face to face with his dad. And he was like, yo, the voice that I keep hearing in my head that's like keeping me down is your voice. That's the voice that I keep hearing. And he talks about how he's not able to, do what he wants to do because of his dad and whatever his dad instilled in him. And his wife gets in between him and his father. And she's like, I'm going to put my voice in your head and encourage you, because you need to get that voice out of your head. And that just is very much in line with like my thinking around programming, the stuff that you're taught as a kid, what we not only say to our kids, but also what we show by the things that we do. Like, that programming, man, is going to last for a very, very, very long time. And so when people have issues with like limiting beliefs, I think it's really important to go back to your childhood. And it's like, what was poured into you as a kid? And I know it may be a long time ago for some people. It may be painful or challenging to go back and revisit those memories. But, for me, when I think about my childhood, and what I was saying to you was, I was very argumentative with my parents. I was a big why person. It's like, well, you got to do this. Why? We got to do this. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Da, 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 da. And, what I was saying with you is, like, my parents, they didn't try to stamp that out of me. They entertained me. They indulged me. They were like, all right, let's talk about it. And they allowed me to like explore those thoughts. And my kid is the same exact way, man. For any parents, God, what do you say?
No, I was laughing.
It's like, for any parents that are listening, when your kid is the exact same way as you, and you're like, yo, what they're doing rubs me the wrong way. It's like, well, why are they like that? Oh, snap, I'm looking in the mirror. So my kid, she will question everything. She will say no to a lot of things. And I mean, I don't know. I grew up in a Caribbean, household, and like my parents were fairly strict with it. Like, there was no talking back. There was no, no, I'm not doing
Oh
this. Like, no,
no.
you ended up across the other side of the room, right? With her, what I'm realizing is, even though my parents were pretty good, very good with like allowing me to explore and stuff like that, like they didn't do that with my brothers. And I think it's because I articulated myself in a way they were like, all right, he's like legitimately, trying to figure things out. Let's indulge him. I am making sure that when my kid says, no, I don't want to do something, well, what's the reasoning behind it?
Mhm.
So what my wife and I will do is we'll be like, all right, tell us how you feel. Why don't you want to do it? What would you rather be doing? Where are you at with this? And if you give the kid space to explain, she'll do it. She'll say, let me tell you why I want to go to the park. I really like to play on this thing, la da 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 da, and I like that better than doing this other thing. And we can have a conversation. We could say, hey, you know what? Later, we can go to the park and do that. But right now, we collectively need to do this for whatever reason, such and such, da da da. Okay,
Right,
all
right.
right, we could do that later. It's like if you just say no to everything, you're instilling in your kid like you don't have autonomy. No, you don't have the freedom to make decisions for yourself. No, you don't have the opportunity to explore these ideas that you have. Da, 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 da. That becomes a limiting belief. You're
Yeah,
not,
you're clear. You're closing them in.
yeah, it's like you're not saying it to them like, don't believe, don't explore, don't do this, don't learn, don't try. You're not saying that to them, but you are saying that to them. It's implied.
Hmm.
If you tell somebody like, what's that movie? Tangled. My kid loves watching that movie
Oh
Tangled.
wow, I haven't seen that in a while.
With the Rapunzel, right?
Yeah, Rapunzel.
The mother keeps telling the kid, the world is so dangerous. The world is scary. There's mean men out there that are going to eat you alive. And, like, you don't want to go out there. She's programming her from a little time she's a little kid. And as an adult, she had difficulty breaking out of those limiting beliefs. She's like, I can't go out there. I can't do it. The guy comes up into the tower, bong. She hits him over the head with the frying pan. She's like, oh, I did it. Like, there's a scary guy. I took him out. No problem. I can do anything. And her attitude starts to change about who she is and what she's capable of doing. So like just by something as simple as telling a child like, no, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, and not allowing to them explore, like you're creating those shackles in their mind, and they're
Yeah.
learning, no, I'm not able to do this. So you got to be really careful. And the last thing I'll say before I hand it over to you is like, if we don't have a good reason for our child not to do something,
Hmm.
I really try to make sure that we just let her do it. And I think a good reason can't just be, well, I don't want you to do it. I find it annoying. I find it inconvenient. It's like, no, like if my kid was just blowing bubbles, right? There she goes on cue. She's home with me today, everybody. And I found it so annoying. I'm like, I really wish she would just stop blowing bubbles. Like, it's so annoying to me. I said, but I don't really have a good reason for her to not to be blowing bubbles. You know,
Uh,
truthfully, probably no one's going to hear it in the microphone. We've got like sound suppression and stuff. So it's really just bothering me. And I could say, as her father, stop blowing bubbles. Stop the bubbles. But
oh
what is
man,
she getting out of blowing bubbles that I'm now hindering? She's clearly having fun doing it.
she's making sound. It's almost like a science project for her.
Oh, Ken, thank you so much that you just said that. When she came out of the kitchen with the
Hmm.
cup of water, I said, oh, what are you doing? She said, I'm doing an experiment. That's what she said.
See,
So I'm not making this up. You're 100% right. I'm doing an
yeah,
experiment, Dad. So she's sitting down and she's blowing bubbles. And it's like, all right, so now because I don't like the sound of the bubbles, it's like, stop learning, stop exploring.
it can create resentment too, man. I still look. I was raised in a Central American home, which is the equivalent of a Caribbean home. My wife was raised in a Caribbean home, so we had. Hey, how you doing? All right, so we had, don't do this, don't do that, just same way, kind of. Maybe you had a little more freedom, but it was, what are you doing? Do not make a mess. And I remember this one day. Our third child. So he was playing with this magnetic sand. I come home from work, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's on the kitchen floor and the tile floor, so it's easy. I knew what it was, or I'm like, "What is that?" My wife tells me, "Oh, it's magnetic sand." Blah blah. I'm like, "There's a mess." I tried not to do it in front of him. I'm like, "Babe, there's a mess. Like, what are we doing?" She's like, "No, you have to let him explore. He's exploring." And just coming home from work, I'm like, "All right, whatever. Just let the kid explore." I'm like, "I'm not cleaning this up." And then the next day, I'm sitting there thinking about, like, wow, I wish I was able to do that when I was a kid. I got to sleep off the whole whatever of just being upset that he's making a mess. Meanwhile, he's exploring. In his head, he's creating a mountain of lava or creating, a ball with this magnetic sand that really is pretty easy to clean up. If it's not on carpet, by the way, people.
If it's not on carpet, yeah.
It's not on carpet. It's getting vacuumed up. But no, it's just exploration. And then, yes, resentment does happen because, all right, we can't, I know we can say, well, we blame our parents for the way they raised us, right? I can always say, I would blame my mom, I blame my dad because they wouldn't let me do this or yeah, but then who raised them?
Right.
So now you have to go back to your grandparents, right? All right, but then who raised them? Right. So it's just this, it becomes a generational thing that someone at some point or parents at some point are going to have to break and just say, these kids need to explore, right? There was like this thing where they had ticks, and ticks can jump. And please, I don't know what the real thing is. 10 times their height or 100 times their height. So what they did, the scientists took a cup, and put a cup over the ticks. So now you can only jump to the height of that cup. Let's say the cup is 8 inches. So that's it. And now they're jumping to the height of that cup. They then remove the cup out the way, the glass. And the ticks would not jump any higher than that because they were trained like a parent will train their children to not jump any higher because like in what you were saying in Tangle just now, it's a bad world out there. It's very dangerous. Don't go any more than this. Now, here's the crazy part. Those ticks had offspring, and they trained their offspring not to jump any higher than the glass that they were trained to jump in. Now, isn't that a little crazy that the offspring are trained that way? So parents are training their children that there's limitations, right? So the episode was called, what was it? Limiting yourself to your beliefs. So if your parents are passing down beliefs to you that the world is dangerous or it can't be done or you should never be an entrepreneur or you can't. I mean, listen, I love my parents. I know one of them, I'm not going to say which one, but one of them would say, it can't be done or it shouldn't be done because it's dangerous. And my other parent would say, hey, try it out. You never know what can happen. Right. Thankfully, I had both to kind of keep me on some kind of a path. But as I got older, I started going towards, hey, I could try that. Right. What's the worst that could happen? Right. I'm not saying putting yourself in danger, but I decided, let me try something and try different career paths and try different whatever it may be, t-shirt company, graphic designer, sales, construction, try different things. Because once you get stuck in the limitation of your beliefs, that's a dangerous place. Mm-hmm. And us as parents, like Fenton was just saying, let your child explore. And my wife is the one that taught me that a lot. Like she's the one, I'll give her the credit all day. She's the one that said, you got to let them explore. You really got to, because when Fenton before would say, oh, she's blowing bubbles. I don't know why. In my head, I'm like, wow, I sound like Tiff right now in my head saying, let him blow bubbles. If it makes a mess, it's water. Wipe it up.
Wipe it out.
And I catch myself some days still with these kids, man. We have 4 now, but we have 3 that are like, moving around, and we have a 7-month-old. So he's exploring, but it's still safe. Still safe.
Yeah.
But I do find myself some days still like, stopping myself from saying something out loud that could actually affect my children in a negative way of keeping them trapped in their own environment of maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't go that way. No, go. Just do it safely. Mm-hmm. If you want to do it, you want to see what happens when you put baking soda and vinegar together? Fine. Let's do it in a sink though. Yeah. Still contained. Yeah. But yeah, let's see what happens. You saw it on YouTube. Come on, let's go. Let's put some red dye in it. Yeah, it looks like lava now. Yeah. But yeah, you being trapped in your own beliefs it's tough. Like Fenton was saying, maybe you have to go back into your past, which could be a little difficult for some. It really can be like traumatizing sometimes, but maybe it'll help unlock something in your head that that's keeping you back from being the best version of yourself. I mean, we've talked about that in other episodes as well. But yeah, it's a tricky it's a tricky path that but don't that term of, tread lightly. No, sometimes you got to just kind of just run and be a kid sometimes, and don't forget to be a kid, man. Kids, let me tell you, man, having children or being around children, if you don't have your own, but you can just be around children and just see how their brains are just like, well, I want this or that, or I don't want to have, the muffin with toast and butter. Well, why? It tastes good. Well, I don't want it. Right? We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Learn to interact, because children can bring something out of you that just has been dormant of what's the word? Just experiment. Just experimenting with life in general.
Man, there's so much stuff that you said that is so good. It's good to have another person. My wife is the person that will say, yeah, let her swing from the trees. Let her, do this, let her do that, physical stuff. I'm more risk averse when it comes to my body. And I wasn't always, when I have like injuries and things that I think have made me a little soft and, very sensitive to the idea of being injured, because I have injuries. And, I don't want that for my kid, but also, she's a kid and she's, they're very resilient, and literally their bodies are resilient. So my wife is like, yeah, let's do this. Da, da, da. I'm like, that looks dangerous. I don't know if we should be doing that. It's like, whatever, it's all good. So I love that. I love that I have, a partner in life, her parent, who is willing to just, go for it. And then when it comes to, I think, mindset, I'm just like super open, I'm very open to new ideas and new ways of thinking and new perspectives and seeing things differently. And so, if my kid is like, yeah, like, I don't know, like the sun's purple or whatever, I'm like, yep, it sure is, like whatever. There's not too many things that my kid will say, oh, Dad, this is like this. And I'm going to say, no, not too many things. There's a couple, but not too many. Because you know what? She might be the person who sees things a different way and comes up with some new invention, because nobody thought about this that way. Like, isn't that the story of humanity? It's like, oh, it took one person or a group of people saying, like, well, what about this? It could be like this instead. Like I said, I have my convictions about certain things, but for the most part, I'm like, dude, like, you make your life what you want it to be. And I want her from a young age to have that understanding that your life really is whatever you want it to be. The limiting beliefs that you have are the only things that are going to keep you from making your life what you want it to be. I was on a cruise recently, and I was with a good friend on the cruise, and he said something to me that was like, man, it was so potent. I'm gonna go back to the actual text because I hate paraphrasing. I hate paraphrasing, and
it's my favorite.
I can't stand it. He's a business person, like me, and so we have really good conversations about business. And let me see if I can pull up the message that he sent me. And while I'm talking about that, it was about, I have this new product that I, on a web design agency, and I'm trying to put out this new thing. And in the midst of it, of working on that product, I was thinking about speaking, writing a book. Because I have all these thoughts, in my head that I feel are just like different from how other people view things in the business world. And I'm like, I have my thoughts. I've been doing this for a long time. I've learned a whole bunch of things. I want to share these ideas. And I think they might be hot takes, but whatever. It's like, just go for it. But I have some limiting beliefs around being ready, being equipped. Like, am I actually equipped to go talk on a stage?
Yes.
And provide people with information that they would find useful? Have I developed enough of a life resume to have the credentials to say, like, yeah, no, I can go and talk to people?
Yes, you can.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Because I need that voice. I need another voice. Let me just read what he said because I just found it. He said, the only person yet to be convinced that Fenton is ready is Fenton. The only voice of doubt that Fenton hears is Fenton's. The day that Fenton will get out of Fenton's way will be the day that Fenton's dreams will become reality. And he texted that to me after, we'd all gone back to our own rooms. And I was like, I really appreciate you saying that. Like, I really needed to hear that because I've helped a lot of people, get further along in life. I'm an encourager. I'm here to encourage other people and let the world see how awesome other people are. And I don't shine that light on myself. I don't apply those tools to myself because of some limiting beliefs. And if anybody knows me, they find it very hard to believe that I'm an introvert and that I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot because they're like, well, you just seem like you're always on and you're just out. Why am I looking down? The camera's up here. Because there's another screen of us down here. They find it hard to believe because they're like, dude, you're a great public speaker. You have all this information. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't yet convinced myself of that. So even I have to deal with that, and having somebody else in my corner, having another voice saying it helps to counteract what I hear in my head. And that was going back to what you said about your wife, being that other voice of reason. My wife being that other voice of reason. That's let's get rid of those limiting beliefs. Let's get rid of those constraints. Let the kids do what they're going to do. Having somebody who's like, yo, you should write that book. You should start that business. Go ahead, form that LLC. Yo, your cupcakes are amazing. You should just bake some for the local school and see how people feel about them. Maybe take some orders, whatever. We have all these ideas. People aren't short on ideas, bro.
Right.
Execution. Who doesn't have an idea, but can they execute on it? Will they even begin the thought process of executing on it? Most people, I'm not afraid to say, I think most people, I'm not going to say many people, I think most people say to themselves, for one reason or another, I can't do it. It can't be done. Here's why it's not going to work. And they never even get started.
Yeah.
And then you've got the people that do get started and then it fizzles out. Oh, I want to start that podcast. I'm going to build that website. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take that first step. And they never finish it because somewhere along the line in that first simple step, the voice kicks in and they say, oh, no, I can't. It's not going to work out. Or somebody else tells them it's not going to work out. Yeah. And then you have the people that get to, actually doing the work. Somebody like me who's I've been full-time now for 5 years. I've had the business since 2014. And I wake up every day and I'm like, I don't know. I'm doing it. I have clients. I'm making money. I'm growing a business. I'm actually doing it. I can look back and say, look at what I've done the past 5 years and be like, good job. And I still have a voice in my head saying, I don't know. So you have to every day fight it, and add different language and programming,
Right. That's a good wrap up.
It's great. I'd like to know what people think about whoever sees this. I would love for you to put in the comments or DM us, whatever. What are your limiting beliefs? I want to hear that from people. I'd
love to see that list.
That's a lot of vulnerability.
Nice. Yeah, but why not? Because you don't have to put a stamp on it. What are some of the limited beliefs you had in the past that you've overcome?
It's good.
That's all right. What do you worry about?
Let's make that a post. That a post on IG. Post. What are some of your limiting beliefs? Put it in the comment section. Because the more we talk about it, when you talk about it, now you can identify it, label it, acknowledge it, and say, I see you, but I'm not going to let that stop me. But if you just pretend like it's not there, if you're like a little kid with your eyes covered, you know what I'm saying? I don't see you, it's not there. That's what kids do, right? It's oh, not there. It's no, it's still there. acknowledge it, and then move past it.
I like it.
All right, my
Let's
brother.
make it happen. All right, I know you're dusty. Like, subscribe. Go ahead.
Thank you for the reminder. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with somebody on their personal development journey. And also hit us up on IG. We're on IG under products POC Podcast, and we're also on LinkedIn. Ken Skeen and Fenton Joseph, connect with us. We are real people. Like, we actually do things in real life, and we'd love to connect with you.
Yes, and TikTok, by the way.
And
Ken Skeen and Fenton Joseph as well.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Down in the description. Have a productive week, y'all. All right. Peace.